Have you ever thought that maybe you're not that smart? Does everyone around you get things faster? What if I told you that maybe you actually have a higher IQ than you think? It's just that your brain hides it in a way that nobody notices. Stay until the end because these 10 signs will reveal whether your intelligence operates on a level most people never recognize. And number 10, that's what most geniuses have in common, and it's something you actually have but don't recognize in yourself. Let's get into it. Number 1, you talk to yourself. Sounds weird, I know. But research from the University of Wisconsin showed that people who verbalize their thought process information faster and remember it longer, when you talk to yourself, you're literally training your own brain through complex reasoning. Many who would observe you from the side would say, "Look at this weirdo." But that's actually a sign of advanced thinking. Psychologists call this self-directed speech, and it has a very specific function in our thinking, and uses the left hemisphere of the brain. When you say your thoughts out loud, even quietly, you activate multiple neural pathways simultaneously. Your auditory center processes the sound, language centers organize the information, and the prefrontal cortex uses all of that for better decisions. It's like giving your brain real-time feedback. Einstein did it. Tesla did it. Many of the greatest minds in history talk to themselves while solving problems. And did anyone tell you that? Or did you maybe read it? I believe you didn't. So ask yourself why you didn't. So if you catch yourself mumbling while trying to figure something out, or quietly commenting on your thoughts while working on something complicated, that's not weird behavior. That's your smart brain optimizing its own performance and working on improvement. Number 2, you overthink everything. Do you replay conversations in your head for days? Do you question decisions you made a week ago? Do you imagine 50 different outcomes for situations that haven't even happened? Most people would call that anxiety. But here's what neurology says. That's actually analysis. Scientists call this metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. And that's one of the main characteristics of high intelligence. Your brain doesn't just process information. It processes how it processes information. You run simulations, explore possibilities, test hypotheses about human behavior and social dynamics before any of it even happens. Research published in the journal Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews shows that people with higher IQs have a more active default mode network. That's the part of the brain that stays active even when you're not focused on a specific task. So when you're lying in bed going through every possible interpretation of something someone said 3 days ago, that's not weakness. That's your brain doing what smart brains do. Analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes, and building complex mental models of reality. The problem is that the same cognitive ability that helps you solve complex problems can also make simple decisions incredibly complicated, because your brain sees all the variables, all the possibilities, all the potential consequences. Most people see a choice between A and B. You see a choice between A, B, and 17 variations of each, with cascading consequences you can't ignore. And when you think your brain isn't working, well, you're wrong. Your brain is always processing information. Number 3, you get bored easily. If you can't stand repetitive routines, if the mere thought of the same task over and over drives you crazy, it's not because you're lazy or lack discipline. It's because your dopamine system works differently. Highly intelligent people have what neurologists call a faster reward prediction system. Your brain learns patterns quickly, sometimes even too quickly. Once you figure out how something works, once you master a routine, your dopamine level drops, the challenge is gone, the novelty is worn out, and your brain immediately starts looking for the next complex problem to solve. That's why highly intelligent people often have problems in traditional educational systems or regular workplaces, not because they can't do the work, but because once they understand the pattern, repetition becomes cognitively painful. Their brains crave novelty, complexity, and challenge. Simple tasks don't just bore them. They actually provide less neurochemical reward than someone with average intelligence would. Go back in time and remember if you had a friend from school who wasn't always active in class but grasped things really quickly. See, that's exactly what I just told you. Research from the National Institutes of Health shows that people with higher IQs need more cognitive stimulation to achieve the same level of satisfaction that others get from simpler activities. So if you're constantly seeking new information, new challenges, new ways of thinking, that's not restlessness. That's your intelligent brain seeking the stimulation needed for optimal functioning. Number 4, you constantly doubt yourself. Here's something that surprises most people. The smarter you are, the more you question your own abilities. You've probably heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a cognitive bias in which people with limited knowledge in a domain tend to overestimate their competence, while people with real expertise usually underestimate themselves. Why does this happen? Because intelligence brings awareness of complexity. The more you know about a topic, the more you realize how much you don't know. The more problems you solve, the more you recognize how many variables you might have missed. The deeper you think, the more you see the limitations of your own thinking. So if you often question whether you're smart enough, whether you really know what you're talking about, whether you're actually qualified for something you've been doing successfully for years, that's not classic imposter syndrome. That's your highly intelligent brain being acutely aware of the enormity of what you don't yet understand. And ironically, that awareness is itself a sign of intelligence. Studies show that people who achieve the highest scores on IQ tests significantly more often underestimate their performance than those with average scores. So your self-doubt might actually prove the very intelligence you're doubting. Number 5, you stay up late at night. Now comes the interesting part. Are you a night owl? Do your best ideas come after midnight? Does it seem like your brain wakes up just when everyone else is going to sleep? Research from the London School of Economics showed that people who like to stay up late usually achieve better results on intelligence tests than those who prefer early mornings. But why? One theory relates to evolutionary psychology. Our ancestors who could adapt to non-traditional patterns, who could stay awake while others slept, who could think differently about time and schedules, had a survival advantage. That cognitive flexibility that allowed them to separate from the group is the same cognitive flexibility that correlates with higher intelligence today. It's a bit hard to control your thoughts at night when your brain is running at 300 miles per hour, isn't it? Does your brain also work overnight and you can't fall asleep processing 300 topics? There's also a neurological component. Many highly intelligent people say that their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thinking, becomes most active when external stimulation decreases. At night, when the world quiets down, when obligations disappear, when distractions fade, that's when creative ideas emerge. That's when deep thinking becomes possible. So if you've always felt guilty about not being a morning person, if you've tried and failed to become someone who jumps out of bed at dawn full of energy, maybe stop fighting against your brain's natural rhythm. Your intelligence might literally operate on a different schedule. Number 6, you're sensitive to noise. Listen to this now. Have you, for example, been irritated by sounds that nobody else even notices? Clock ticking, raindrops on the window gutter, someone is breathing loudly, background music in a store, buzzing of neon lights, pen clicking. Chewing sounds? Sound familiar? That's not oversensitivity or being difficult. That's enhanced sensory processing. Your brain absorbs significantly more data from the environment than the average person's brain. This helps you spot patterns faster, notice details others miss, and make connections that aren't obvious to everyone. But it also means you can easily become overloaded. Neurologists have found that people with higher IQs usually have more active sensory processing centers. Your brain doesn't filter out as much irrelevant information as most people's brains do. Everything gets processed, everything gets analyzed. Every sound, every visual detail, every sensory input becomes data for your pattern recognition systems. That's why highly intelligent people often need quiet environments for thinking. That's why they can seem irritable in noisy or chaotic spaces. That's not antisocial behavior. That's a brain that's already processing so much internal information that external noise truly becomes overwhelming. I'm curious, did you ever take the battery out of the clock before going to bed? Number 7, You procrastinate. This one might surprise you. You'd think highly intelligent people are perfectly organized, always ahead of deadlines and never put things off, but research tells a different story. Psychologists from the University of Calgary discovered that many people with high IQs show what's called active procrastination. Your brain doesn't like busy work. It's not motivated by arbitrary deadlines or tasks that don't seem meaningful. It waits until something truly becomes important, until there's real pressure or genuine interest, before giving its all. And when it engages, that's when you often give your absolute best performance. This isn't the same as passive procrastination, where someone avoids tasks due to anxiety or being overwhelmed. Active procrastinators make a calculated decision, often unconsciously, to direct their cognitive resources where they matter most. They know they can pull it off at the last minute because they've done it before. Their brains work exceptionally well under pressure. The problem is that this pattern looks like poor time management to outside observers. But internally, it's strategic resource allocation. Your brain refuses to waste its processing power on something that doesn't yet require your full intelligence. So if you're someone who works best right before a deadline, who can't start a project until the pressure is real, that might not be a flaw. That might just be how your highly intelligent brain optimizes its own performance. Your notebooks are in chaos, pens everywhere, mild disaster, but that's your organization. And it's easy for you to keep track of it all, isn't it? Number 8, you remember random details nobody else remembers. The exact date something happened 5 years ago. A small fact from a documentary you watched once. A random comment someone made at a party in 2015. The name of a street you passed on vacation. A specific line from a movie you only saw once. But meanwhile, you can't remember where you put your keys 10 minutes ago. This is your working memory in action, and it's one of the strongest correlations with high IQ. But here's what's interesting. Highly intelligent people don't necessarily have better memory for everything. They have exceptional memory for patterns, meanings, and unusual connections. Your brain flags information that's novel, emotionally significant, or that connects to other ideas you're processing. So you might struggle to remember routine information like where you put everyday things, because your brain doesn't code routine as important. But you'll remember that conversation from years ago because it contained an idea that connected to something you were thinking about, or an emotional nuance that your pattern recognition systems considered significant. Studies show that people with higher IQs have more active hippocampus regions, which are crucial for forming and retrieving complex memories. Your brain doesn't just store random facts. It builds a complex web of interconnected information, and some details stick because they fit into patterns only your brain is tracking. Number 9, you feel emotions deeply. This surprises people because we usually think of intelligence as something cold, logical, and completely rational. But neurology tells a very different story. Research shows a strong correlation between high IQ and what psychologists call emotional intensity. Highly intelligent people don't just think deeply. They feel deeply too. This isn't weakness or instability. It's neurological sophistication. The same brain regions that process complex thoughts also process complex emotions. The same pattern recognition abilities that help you solve abstract problems also make you incredibly attuned to emotional nuances in yourself and others. The same depth of analysis you apply to ideas, you also apply to feelings. Studies using fMRI scans show that people with higher IQs have more active mirror neuron systems. These are the neurons that help us understand and almost physically feel what others are experiencing. So when you watch someone going through something difficult and you feel it in your chest, when art or music or stories move you to tears, when you feel other people's emotions so intensely that it exhausts you, that's not emotional weakness. That's your highly intelligent brain doing what it does best, processing complex information at a deep level. The challenge is that our culture often treats emotional depth as the opposite of intelligence, but they're not opposites. They're connected. Your ability to feel deeply, to genuinely empathize, to understand the emotional landscape of human experience, that's part of what makes you intelligent. Number 10, You never stop learning. And here's the final sign, the one that geniuses throughout history share: an insatiable urge to understand more. You read not because you have to, but because you're genuinely interested. You ask questions even when you already know the answers, because you're looking for better answers. You watch videos like this, trying to better understand yourself, trying to figure out how your mind works. This is what psychologists call intrinsic motivation for learning. You're not seeking information to impress someone or achieve some external goal. You seek it because your brain finds the learning process itself rewarding. Every new piece of information is like a puzzle piece that might connect to something else you're thinking about. Every new perspective is a chance to update your mental models. Research by Carol Dweck from Stanford on the growth mindset shows that people with the highest levels of achievement aren't necessarily those who start out smartest. They're the ones who maintain curiosity, who treat their own intelligence as something that grows through effort and exploration. They're the ones who never stop asking questions, never stop reading, never stop trying to understand the world more deeply. So if you're watching this right now, trying to better understand yourself, trying to figure out if these patterns describe you, you know what? That curiosity alone, that drive to know yourself more clearly, puts you in the highest tier of intelligent minds. Because real intelligence isn't about having all the answers. It's about never running out of questions. Conclusion: being smart isn't about grades or test scores or how fast you can solve equations. It's about awareness, adaptability, curiosity, and depth of thought. It's about how your brain processes the world, not just what it knows about the world. So next time someone calls you too sensitive, too quiet, too analytical, too much in your own head, or too anything that makes you feel like you don't quite fit in, just smile, because that might be exactly what high intelligence looks like. It doesn't always look the way we expect. It doesn't announce itself loudly, but it's there, working beneath the surface, making connections, asking questions, and trying to understand this strange, beautiful, complicated experience of being human. If this opened your eyes, follow the channel. More psychology content is coming that I think you'll find equally fascinating about how your mind works. See you in the next video.